Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Write or Die Show. I am your host, Randi-lee. On today's episode, our guest is Mark Antony Rains. So welcome, Mark. I'm so excited for you to be on the show.
Hello, how are you?
I am great. And where are you joining us from?
A place called Holsworthy, which is in Devon, which is in England, a far away, long swim from America.
Well, I'm in Canada, but yeah, very close to America.
Well, across the border then.
Distance.
Yeah,
Same distance. And what time is it for you then?
it's just gone 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so I've just had my dinner.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I just had my breakfast. Let's get to it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Mark Antony Rains. I am a author, blogger, YouTuber, cartoonist, singer. Sometimes like to do a bit of comedy. Near-death experiencer, and I do a podcast called Ghost Man Radio Station, which I present, produce, and put everywhere I can think of in the universe.
Oh, very cool. And what's that about?
Basically, I do it's a combination of things. I do interviews, book readings, horror hosting, and generally what I feel like doing, really, whatever catches my fancy.
Nice.
I've been doing a lot of Doctor Who old episodes lately, so that's something
I've
else.
actually never seen any Doctor Who. I heard it's good, but I never watched any of it.
That's all right. If you've never watched it, there's no point explaining it to it.
No. It sounds complicated. It does. So let's hop to it. What mental health have you dealt with in your life?
I've dealt with various things in my life. I've had chronic depression. I've had OCD for a long time. I have paranoid thoughts, which can be a bit. It doesn't. When the worst ones come, get verbally aggressive, and sometimes I might hit a wall or throw something, but I don't never hurt anybody as such. But it can be very frightening.
Let's first talk about, well, we'll start with the first one you talked about, depression, chronic depression. When did you first notice that you were experiencing that?
Well, basically, I think I was going in and never. I didn't have my first girlfriend because I've only had two women in my life. My first girlfriend and my wife, I'm married to now, and we broke up, and I didn't cope with it very well at the time. And during that breakup period, I did try to commit suicide twice.
Wow. And would you be
And I
willing to
got,
share how you?
yeah, basically it was the tablets, taking too many tablets. I
And
mean, obviously I chickened out. I phoned the ambulance like the first time,
oh,
and
good.
the second time when I went in, they said one of the nurses come in and said you have to be careful about this because it can come have it for me. That if you're
Oh,
not coping with something, you can sort of like go to that option and opt out of life, a bit like taking drugs or whatever. Yeah.
well, I'm glad that you called the ambulance. And I wouldn't say that that was chickening out. I would describe that more as asking for help, which is an important step when you're dealing with that kind of thing.
Yeah, I quite agree because that's the one thing that we need to do because of the recent thing. We're in the pandemic at the moment. We're in the pandemic blues, as I call them.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
think we're all learning now to talk a bit more about how we feel more than we used to because we're always stuck in a rut of working. And when you're working, you tend to think that you're in control. Obviously, you're not because we tend to put things back in our subconscious, and all you need is a trigger. And that's why I like to tell people that when they say, "Oh, I've never suffered in mental health," I said, "Well, you haven't had that trigger yet. That's pushed you over the edge. We've all got it. Everyone's got it. It's
Yeah.
just you don't know what it's going to be. It could be the death of your loved one or member of family, or you could have a string of events all seeming at once, and that could just push you over this edge finally. You know, you don't have to go as far as I tried to, but
Mhm.
yeah, but that at the time, that's how you feel. You feel overwhelmed. So you're thinking, I'm so overwhelmed, I've got to find a way out. So I can understand how people feel at that time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would say to anybody listening, go and talk to someone, anybody, your friend, or one of those services available in your country. Just talk, because it's better to get out of your head than stay in your head.
Yes, that is a great way to put it. Getting help, asking for help is one of the hardest things I think for people to do, but it's also one of the most courageous things to do.
Yeah, it's very true. I think it's the one thing we don't like doing as human beings.
Hmm.
We know we're in trouble. We put our head in the sand like ostriches, and we're hoping it'll all go away. But it never does. It never goes away, because the only person that can ever deal with your problems is you. I always think you could get all the help in the world. Don't matter who you are, you can get offered all the help. But if you don't want to really do anything, you're not willing to put the work in, it's never going to go anywhere. That's why some people always end up in a never-ending circle. It's not their fault. It's just their way they've adapted to things. That's how they cope.
Yeah, they haven't quite got to the point where they're willing, like you said, willing to do the work and willing to accept responsibility to do the work for themselves.
Yes.
All right. So then next you talked about OCD, but for those listening right now who maybe don't know what it means, can you first tell us what it is, what the acronym is, and explain how you experience that?
Obsessive or compulsive disorder. It's basically where I'll give you an example. Your car's locked. You go to your car, you check the key, you check the door, you go away. You go back, check the car, checks the door, check the key. And you may go back again the third time. You're not quite OCD yet. That's not OCD. It's when you go back 20, 30 times, checking the same thing, doing the same. Like, it's not necessarily related to cleaning, although that's the most known one. Obviously, that's the most
Yeah.
known condition of OCD is. But it can come in so many forms, like you have to get up at 4 o'clock every morning. Otherwise, you don't get up at that time, something will happen. Or if you don't do one thing this day, if you don't read the paper exactly at 6:06 in the day, that something will happen in the world. That's the sort of thing you think. Obviously, it doesn't, but in your brain, it becomes it's like this little circle. The fault develops, and then it goes round,
Yeah.
and it goes round again, around again, and even though you can try to break the circle with cognitive therapy or meditation or breathing exercises, unless you know your triggers. If you know your triggers, you can avoid them. I know people say you should face your triggers, but I'm a great believer in sometimes why put yourself under all that stress?
True.
If you know it's going to cause you stress, I mean, obviously you're going to get it unknowingly, get an OCD moment, but you may not get it as bad, the OCD, because it it it's that it's controlling you instead of you controlling it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I read I read a book. It was actually Teresa's book, who I think she's episode 3 or 4, something like that. Her episode was posted. And her main character had OCD. And the character's compulsion was when they stepped out of the shower, they had to step in and out, in and out, in and out. I think it was 4 times, maybe, if I'm remembering right. And that was their compulsion. So it's not, like I said, it's something that can be totally random. Like, you don't necessarily know, but it's just you feel, and that's why it's compulsive, right? You feel this compelling thing in your brain to make you do this, or else you can't move on with your day.
Most extreme cases can end up in a care home for mentally ill people, because I used to work in mental health, and we had a couple of extreme cases of OCD where somebody washed themselves and literally their skin was that red raw because they had to keep washing themselves continuously.
And
It's
that's
not
why
very
you
nice.
gotta be very careful.
I mean, yeah.
And
It's,
what,
yeah, again, another thing you should admit to. Yeah, like try to talk to someone about it.
yeah, that's,
Those most doctors will dismiss it at first.
oh, okay. So what was your compulsive behaviors?
Mine was basically making sure switches are on. If I go out, because I have bladder problems, I have to know where the toilets are. Because I have to know, I plan my day. Even look at buildings and suss out where the toilets are. I know it sounds strange, but you know what it's
It
like. You
doesn't
know,
sound strange to me because I do that too.
yeah, it's the sort of thing you're thinking. Well, if I go there, that's library. That's got a toilet. If I go to town, it should be. And of course, during the pandemic, everything shuts.
I know. I was actually
Every
about to
day.
say that. You beat me to it. Right now, I'm like, okay, I need to go here and here, but maybe I need to come home in between because there's nowhere to go to the bathroom. And how did you deal with your OCD?
Well, I'm still dealing with it day to day. But I dealt with it better because I went on a course to do with OCD and how to use mindfulness. There's a good technique is mindfulness. Basically, you look at a clock and you look how the clock hand moves. You put all your concentration on the clock hand moving slowly, and you look at it moving. And while you're concentrating on that, the thoughts aren't so bad. And you're also using meditation apps like meditate for about a minute or 2 minutes. I don't do it too long because then that becomes a habit. You see, you've got to be so careful with OCD. Things don't come a habit.
That's true. I never thought of that before because there's so many different coping skills out there. And like I said, meditation's a big one that a lot of people talk about. But I never thought about it before, how you could turn that into your new compulsive behavior.
Well, you can do because it's so easy, isn't it? If you're thinking, well, if I meditate 5 minutes every day, and oh my God, the apps come down. How can I meditate today? Oh my God, what am I going to do? Yeah, because all
Yeah.
app based, aren't they? They can't, unless you've got your own secret CD you've made up somewhere of meditation music.
Yeah. Nice thing is now there's tons of different apps with different meditations on there that you can usually download for free.
Yeah, I recommend just do one for free. It's no point buying one. Just there's quite a lot of good breathing exercises online about just going was it four in and 8 out, something like that.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that I really like. And actually, I think on my Fitbit there's a breathing that, yeah, relax, and I can set it for 2 or 5 minutes, and it will just take me through breathing exercises. So it's so accessible nowadays.
It should be. It should be accessible because mental health shouldn't be a stigma. It's become it became a stigma. Now it's not such a stigma because people are made to talk about it, but it's because people can't see you're ill.
Yes.
Well, I use a crutch so they can see I've got a problem with my physical abilities.
Mhm.
And even then you get judged immediately. Immediately you walk with a crutch, they think you're incapable of doing anything. Have you
Yeah.
noticed that? If you're in a wheelchair or you carry a frame or you carry a stick, they presume you can't do nothing.
It's
They
true.
presume you
Yeah.
go home and go like a zombie. And you think, well, I can do this, do that, but if I told you, you wouldn't believe me anyway. So what's the point?
True.
Because
Yeah.
I used to do karate at a local karate club, and I got to my green belt, but due to the pandemic, I stopped, and I don't want to go back at the moment because of the pandemic. Because it's in
Yeah.
an inside building, I just worry a bit. Because I'm at that age, I'm nearly 60, so I've got to worry about it.
Oh,
And
that's
my wife's got disability problems as well, so we're classified technically as vulnerable people, but we try
yeah.
not to think about that.
Yeah. And I like the point that you said, like, it was mental health was super stigmatized before. Like, we sometimes my husband and I will talk about how, if this was 50 years ago, because our child has autism, there's a good chance that they would have just, 50 years ago shipped them off to the home and not even thought about them anymore, which is really sad. Like, I adore my child, don't get me wrong, most days. But and then it's less stigmatized now, but I think that it's also stigmatized in a different way, because people, especially OCD specifically, people will say, oh, I'm so OCD, but it's not OCD. It's not interrupting your day-to-day life. You just, right now in this moment, you feel like you need to clean the whole house. My kid,
Yeah.
he'll always go when I'm cleaning, he'll always go, oh, you're so OCD about it. I'm like, no, I'm really not. Like, this is not interrupting my day. This is what I'm going to do right now because I need to clean, but it's not a compulsion I'm feeling right now. So how does that make you feel when you hear somebody talk about, oh, I have OCD, but it's not really OCD. They're just kind of making a joke about it.
I sort of think to myself, well, if they actually did the study, I wouldn't mind. It's like everything. It's like I think lately I found that people don't take grief very. It's like as you know, Prince Philip died over here recently, and a lot of people been slagging that off, saying, "Oh well, why are they covering it? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that?" I think it's a human being at the end of the day. He had a
Yeah.
he had a wife, he had kids, he had everything. I mean, it's like everything. If I don't like someone, fine, I won't slag them off about their burial or funeral. I just won't go. That's what I
Yeah.
won't do. I won't do that because I was learnt to be respectful. I just don't like that attitude that younger. I don't know if it's just younger people. It might be just me. That this attitude of death doesn't matter anymore seems to
Yeah.
be coming across more. Perhaps it's just me as I get older, just picking up on it. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be that too. All right. And finally, you talked about paranoid thoughts. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think it stems back. I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I think it stems back to when I was at school. Because when I was at school, I was made to go back a year, kept a year back, me and this other girl, and we were brought into the office to see the headmistress. We was told about this, and ever since then, I've always felt that I've been catching up on education and social skills and everything else that everybody takes as normal. That's what I think. And then if I see that something's wrong, I feel it's against me, and that's my paranoid fault. It's always against me, myself, nobody else, just me.
Yeah.
And as I say, it gets to little. It's like a little worm playing in your head, like eating away, and then slowly and slowly it can build up until you get beyond that point. You can't control it anymore, and
Yeah.
it comes full blown, as I said before, verbal abuse, quite nasty comments, like quite nasty stuff, and you can throw things, and that can cause quite frightening. I know quite some time ago I got a bit like that, and one of the carers was in to see my wife, and obviously I scared her a bit. I did apologise. I did say what it was, and I wasn't proud of myself. But that made me wake up a bit. Gave me a wake up call. Well, no, people said you should have had a wake up call before that. But as you know, and I, through your own experience of autism in your family, you can cope with your autistic kid brilliantly because you know what's going to happen. For
Yeah.
someone stranger who doesn't know your kid, don't take this wrong. They see the behaviour and go, "Oh my God, what's happening there?" They freak
Oh
out,
yeah.
don't they? They
A lot of
freak out. They
times it's,
just
oh,
can't handle it.
bad parent. Yeah.
So I
That's
think that's what it is. I think it's just saying when it's your family, they put up with it, and when it's a stranger, they don't. And
yeah.
I just needed that wake up call, and then now I just think to myself, look, if you're thinking like that, why are you thinking like that? And I could stop myself. I count to 10 a bit. You go
Oh, that's good.
1, 2, a bit like anger control. Same similar kind of method.
Yeah.
But 90% of the time, 90% of the time it does work. I mean, if it works, it works. I don't knock it.
Yeah, exactly. And when did you first start experiencing paranoid thoughts?
I think when I was quite young, I think I used to get on quite a lot. I think I got on right when I started work because I used to think I wasn't good enough and stuff like that. I just don't think I recognized them then. I just think I just put it down to having a bad day, or because the anxiety will build up. See, it's like a bomb where you suck things in like a sponge, and
Mhm.
slowly the sponge has got full, and it's got to explode, and it's like a vast explosion. Because normally I'm quite a calm mannered person, so when I
Okay.
do explode, it's quite scary. So
Mhm.
that's why it's more scarier than if you're that kind of person 24/7.
Yeah, it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of thing.
Yeah, almost a similar type of thing. So I think that was probably written about someone with schizophrenia originally. I don't think it was based on a monster. I think it was like a form of expressing what schizophrenia felt like to the person.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I've never read the original version. I've just seen, all the remake kind of movies about it, but it sounds like it would be.
I think it fits. I think it fits. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you've already shared a bunch of your coping mechanisms. You've talked about counting to 10, breathing, meditation. Um, so is there any other coping mechanisms that you use that you found really, really helpful for any of the various things you've experienced?
Well, I do. I do a lot of cartoon drawing. Some time ago, my friend of mine does a online magazine called Gonzo Weekly, and said to him, "Oh, would you like a cartoon?" And he said, "Yeah, go ahead." And he lets me put a cartoon in, so technically unpublished, you know.
Oh,
So,
nice.
it's nice to be published. So, it's at the back of the magazine, but hey, I don't care. It's in there. But
Yeah.
it's nice to think of a subject matter. It's like you can think of a subject, something comes up, and you're thinking, oh, I can try and look at a cartoon about that. And you try to think of something and just put it out there, and people like it, they like it. You know, art is a subject matter, isn't it? One man's art is another man's rubbish, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You look at modern art and you think, I don't like that. Some people look at the old art and think, I don't like that.
Yeah, that's very true. And what would you tell somebody who's listening right now, and dealing with their own mental health? What would you tell them to do?
I tell them to be more honest with themselves. I take it that what I used to tell my clients when I used to be mental health. I used to tell them, think that you're not, there's a ladder, and put 1 to 10, 10 being your greatest day you ever had, 1 being the shittiest day you ever had, and then write it down every day in a little diary. Bad day, good day, and then look back in the week and go, "Oh, I had more good days than I thought." Because sometimes because we always, as a species, we always like to look at the negative side of life
Yeah.
most of the time, and I think that's taught in us. I think a little bit of that is in school and television, things like that. I think we put negative thoughts. Well, that's my theory. But I think that when you look back at a month or a week, you'll go, "Oh, I only had 2 really bad days. That wasn't too bad for me." And obviously, go out there and talk about it. There's always someone out there who's going to willing to listen. If it's not, to say at the moment because of the pandemic, it might be hard to get hold of mental places or places you can talk. But there's
Yeah.
always a close friend that you can trust completely, who would never
Mhm.
say nothing to nobody.
Yeah. And there's a lot of online services available as well to use. So, and every country is a little bit different. I can only speak from what we have here, but at least where I am, all of our mental health services, they have one online. So all of the like crisis services and stuff, you can either phone in, phone has always been around, or go online and chat right online with somebody.
That's very true.
So, of course, we're getting pretty much at the end of the interview. You've got such great experience. Now, what books have you written?
Well, I have written quite a few books, so I have done the following books. Some of them are most of them are obviously horror based, but the one I'll tell the one I like to promote the most in a minute. There's one called The Vampire. One's called Plot. There's a one where I do you can look at my cartoons.
Oh, nice.
Just a Nightmare. One I wrote about time travel. Time travel is happening as we are existing. Tales the Unexpected, Dead, Prisoner X, Daydreaming, Epic Tales. And the book I like to promote the most is my obviously my autobiography, because it's not horror based. I know, appreciate not everybody's into horror, so I
I love
appreciate
horror.
that. Yeah, yeah. And the book is called Diary of an Essex Weirdo. The reason why I wrote this book is basically because I've got a thing called small vessel disease of the brain, which most people get when they get a bit older than me, but I'm a bit young for it. And basically what it means, it affects your cognitive skills like memory and speech and whatever. And I thought, well, if ever my short-term memory goes, at least I've written a little bit about my life.
Good point.
So that sort of inspired me to write it. I think I sent you a copy.
Yes, I was about to say that. So I do have a copy. I have not had a chance to read it yet, but when I do, I will be posting a review on my blog and sharing that with everybody. So make sure that you, of course, stay tuned to the Facebook page, our YouTube channel, all of that fun stuff, because I'm always doing book reviews for everybody. And I am looking forward to reading that. And maybe after that, I got to get some of your horror stuff because I love horror stuff. That's mom.
Yeah, I do it two ways. I normally do it audio version, or I dress up. I warn you, it does involve clowns.
I don't know.
Some people don't like clowns, so I thought I'd warn people in advance. It does involve a clown mask. So if you don't like clowns, do not watch it. If I may, can I do an extract from my book?
Okay. I think I'm sort of indifferent to clowns. I find them creepy, but I'm not full on scared of them. So I think I should be okay.
Right, I'm going to do an extract from chapter 1. This is chapter 1 from my book, Diary of an Essex Widow, by myself, Mark Antony Rains, and here it goes. So you may be thinking, why this person decided to write this book, his life in a book that's going to be a form of a diary. Well, I have small vessel disease of the brain, which affects my cognitive skills like memory. I was born on Sunday, 13th of May, 1962. My parents, Tony and Barbara Rains, at Rutford Hospital in Essex. At the time, they lived in Mary's-Net, but moved Mendip Crescent, and this is where I stayed most of my life, 30 years of my life. I have only vague memories of my childhood. I have to credit my late mother, Barbara Ann Rains, helped me fill in the gaps. I liked to play on a milk float when little, in the back garden. When I attended school at Lady of the Lords, Manchester Drive, I was quite shy to the extent when I was asked to play the role of Mark Antony for a class play, I refused to kiss the girl, ran out of the school. I remember all the girls wearing white plimsolls, Mark Bolan, or T-Rex in black ink. At the time, I had a Rice Krispie cake for pudding. As I bit into it, and chipped my tooth. Now I come to the event that affected my life more than I know how now. I had the time to reflect on it. Along with a girl whose name I did not remember, were called to the headmistress office to be informed we were being kept back a year for reasons I also forgot. Anyway, to cut to the chase, it meant I always playing catch up. My granddad worked as a caretaker at my primary school. We visit our grandparents on semi-regular basis. One trip on the way home, I turned to wave goodbye, then walked headfirst into the lamppost. My head had a tennis ball lump, which really hurt. Later in life, one of the hardest things I had to do was attend my dad's. Then years later, my mum's funeral. My dad's funeral brings back a few bad memories. This is when I had a major fallout with my oldest sister. Walked out of the car before the journey to Southend on Sea Crematorium. She had to meet the funeral car. I made her carry my carrier bag into the service at the wake. I felt like shit. If my niece had been there, I would have left. By the funeral, I was determined to say some words about how much I missed her. I bottled out my dad's. The thing I did not like, the things I did not like was my sister's boyfriend keeping on about me not going on too far due to my illness. And it's constant going on about gold radio. That's an excerpt from the book.
Nice. Oh my goodness, bumping
As
your
you
head
can see,
like that.
as you can see, I try to keep a bit of my humour in it.
Yes,
Despite my problems.
which is good. You gotta laugh at yourself sometimes. Not like in a mean way, but just like
Oh yeah.
and
You
where
have to, because if you don't, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, where can people find your books?
On Amazon, I'm on Amazon. Just look me up, Mark Antony Rains, Raines. Antony without the H is ANT, not AHNTH. I spell it the common way. ATH is a posh way. I don't spell it in posh.
Oh, okay.
And you can find my blog, which is called Ghostman. I'm on YouTube as Mark Antony Rains, aka Ghostman. And obviously my podcast, which is available on Red Circle Podcasts, Red Republic, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, and on my blog. It's called Ghostman Radio Station. I call it popcorn for the brain. You might try a bit, like it, and try a bit more.
Excellent. And I will have all of those links down below in the description. So make sure that you show Mark some love there and click and follow him. And any last words that you have for anybody?
Well, this is what I normally do, Randy. When I have my interviews, I always say to people, what is your unique sign-off? So, Randy, this is my unique sign-off for you. Today I spoke to Randi-lee from Canada to many miles away. I had to wake her up at 8 o'clock because the Canada was not broke, you see. She said to me, it doesn't mind. I'll be there, you see. I'm only half awake and had a cup of coffee just for you to be there. And I said, that's okay. I'll have a talk and a chat. We talked some serious stuff and that. But it's okay to mention that you have a mental health problem. It doesn't mean you're mad. I think of Spike Minigan when he used to say in his grave, I told you I was ill.
That is fantastic. Did you just come up with that on the spot?
Yeah, just thought, just come up with that as well.
I love it. That is the best sign off ever. So on that awesome note, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope everybody enjoyed that episode, enjoyed listening to Mark share very honestly about all of his experiences. Of course, the links to follow him are down below in the description, so make sure you go check him out. As well, subscribe to the channel. Show us some love here at Write or Die. And remember that the only way to end the stigma with mental health is to speak openly and honestly.